Sir, can you hear me? Yes. Dr. Ambrish, sir, can you hear me now? Dr. Ambrish, sir, can you hear me? Madam Swati, can you hear me?
So shall we start the event? So you're on mute. Ambrish, so you're on mute.
Welcome everybody to 45th day of Global Communication Education Conclave, GSEC. This conclave has been initiated by Global Media Education Council, GMEC, the first homegrown global council of media educators, researchers, professionals, and policymakers. The idea of setting up GMEC was mooted by Professor Ujjwal Chaudhary last year in 2021. Then like-minded people joined hands with Professor KG Suresh as president and Dr. US Pandey as vice president. Today, GMEC family has grown to more than 60 members. As vice president of GMEC, I have been part of this academic endeavor since the time this idea was mooted. I find myself fortunate to be a part of the galaxy of media educators in this forum. Global Communication Education Conclave, GSEC, is the first step of GMEC. Many more academic and professional endeavors will follow. In GSEC, we have reserved evenings for academic deliberations and enriching discourse with a global perspective. And all our sessions till date have been trendsetters. We have planned 75 sessions of GSEC, and we have already achieved 60% of our target. In today's session, I'm lucky to share the company of Dr. Amresh Jha, who is a professor and head in the School of Digital Media, Journalism and Mass Communication, GD Goenka University, Gurugram, and the chair of this session, Dr. Anurag Batra, chairman and editor-in-chief of Business World and founder of exchangeformedia.com. He is the chief guest of today's session. Dr. D. Nivedita, Associate Professor, Department of Electronic Media and Mass Communication, Pondicherry Central University, is also with us, as we have decided to acknowledge her contribution and confer on her the Eminent Media Educator Award. The keynote address will be delivered by Dr. Sara Chinnasamy, Associate Professor, Malaysian Political and Social Media Analyst, Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, University Technology, Mara, Malaysia. I must also make a mention of a special guest, Dr. Bala Lakhendra, who is Assistant Professor in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, Banaras Hindu University, BHU. We also have a corporate speaker in today's session. He is Mr. Soumyadeep Chatterjee, brand head of Snapdeal. I welcome all my distinguished colleagues in this GSEC session. My special assignment in this session is to introduce the moderator of the day, Ms. Swati Agarwal. Swati is a postgraduate in journalism and mass communication from the University of Calcutta. She is currently working as assistant professor with the School of Media and Communication in Adamas University. She is UGC NET qualified and is also pursuing PhD in journalism and mass communication. Her research interest is in new media. Earlier, she was also associated with the Times of India, Kolkata, and the British Council, Kolkata. So now I hand over the rein to Swati Agarwal.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. I'm privileged to be a part of the Global Media Education Council, which is doing phenomenal work. Today's webinar is on paradigmatic shift in digital media. The digital media has undergone a mammoth change and is affecting the narratives of media. The digital media shows a huge scope and potential for the growth and is constantly evolving day after day. Every domain has been impacted by digital media. Our webinar today will throw light on various aspects of digital media and communication. So without delaying any further, I introduce you to Dr. Sara Chinnasamy. It gives me a lot of pride to introduce you to Dr. Sara Chinnaswamy, who is an associate professor at the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, University Technology, Mara, Malaysia. She is also a political and social media analyst in Malaysia and is actively engaged in political and new media debates. Her expertise extends to actively providing comprehensive and analytical research, apart from forwarding valuable feedback on political and social media movements to the government. Her work is published on a weekly basis in major newspapers and broadcast media. She is the receiver of the DR Strand's Travel Fellowship Award from Australia and Best Women Mentor Award from New Delhi, India. She is the proud author of Rootlet's New Media, Political Engagement and Participation. Her many years of experience as a broadcast journalist has helped her analyze how developing countries use Western theories in media connections and conflicts. I now request Dr. Sara Chinnaswamy to address the audience. And ma'am, just give me one moment. I'll share your presentation. So ma'am, can you see the presentation? Amrish sir, is the presentation?
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm not in the mute, right? Okay. Thank you very much, GMEC organization, and also Swati for inviting me to this webinar, and I am truly appreciated and feel very honored to be the keynote speaker in this presentation. So while we know that we are actually in the pandemic of COVID-19, and of course, majority of scholars, we have been doing a lot of research during this COVID-19 pandemic. It could be circulation of news and misinformation during the COVID-19, or maybe we can spoke about the safety and challenges confronted by the media during the risk reporting. And there are a lot of issues that emerge recently during this COVID-19, and I'm pretty much sure that this research scholarship has been ongoing for quite some time, and we wanted to look on the changes of the media, changes of how the journalists are doing the reporting. So in this platform, I would like to introduce our Global Risk Journalism Hub, a global network which consists of more than 85 world scholars, where we have been gathered and we have established Global Risk Journalism Hub. Next, Swati. Swati, next slide. Okay, for a short introduction, Global Risk Journalism Hub, which known as a Global Risk Journalism Hub, you can even browse our link here. A network which more than 60 researchers from 8 regions, educators and practitioners from around the world to investigate the news reporting of globalized crisis issue. So in this global risk journalism, we have more than 85 scholars which representing 6 to 7 regions such as Southeast Asia, South Asia, and also we have Latin America, we have Middle East countries, we do have Australasia, and also we have Europe countries, and we have nearly 85 scholars representing their countries, where all of us, we will be gathering the data, how the world journalists has been confronting the risk journalism, especially on COVID-19 reporting during this pandemic. And with regards of that, our Global Risk Journalism Hub also aims to collaborate projects transcending national boundaries, opening space for dialogue and debate, how best to improve the quality of journalism, especially during the time of pandemic. So we established this Global Risk Journalism Hub about 1.5 years ago in March 2020, and we may successfully have done first stage of research work where we collecting all the data throughout the world and for Southeast Asia, and I am one of the coordinator which looking at the South Asia, and together with me we have people from scholars from Philippines, India, Nepal, and also from Thailand as well. And our director is from Australia, Ingrid Waltmer, and I'm very happy to produce the first stage of finding to all of you in order to share with you how the journalists throughout the world, especially in South Asia, have been confronting on the risk journalism reporting. Next, Swati.
Yeah, just a moment, ma'am. I'll change.
Okay. My apology because my laptop having some technical issue of sharing the PowerPoint, and
No, ma'am. It's completely all right. It's a pleasure.
Okay.
Just
Okay. So the next slide. So at the first stage, we actually conducted a snapshot survey within the South Asia countries, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, India, and we have two scholars from India, Dr. Ankuran and also Dr. Shankar Umar Pandey representing India. And through that, we have done at first stage of snapshot survey with more than next. So one of the challenges that we actually facing during the yes, this is the one. One of the challenges that we're facing on the snapshot survey is it a bit difficult for us to gather some data from the journalists, and we are looking at the South Asia perspective. We given the 6 countries, some countries like Malaysia, for example, was very busy with the state country conducted election by state elections, and a bit very difficult for us to document the experience faced by the journalists itself. And our snapshot survey looking at the challenges faced by the journalists in covering the pandemic, the role of disinformation during the pandemic, and source of information of COVID-19, and pressure faced by the journalists in covering the pandemic. Next. Okay, looking at the 175 respondents in total, representing, as you could see from the pie chart here, we could see that Malaysia 22.13, Thailand, others India, Philippines, and Nepal. And in total of a global respondent which we gathered from the region was 744 respondents throughout the world. But for South Asia, we managed to get 175 respondents from Thailand, Malaysia, Nepal, India, and Philippines. Next. Okay, given to that, we could see that out of journalists, 175 journalists that we have been interviewed, it consists female 65 people and male 110 respondent. Next. Okay, from the coverage that which one is the primary coverage area that we covered a lot during the COVID-19 looks like every country, I mean the country that which we covered under the South Asia, for example, India, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, and also Nepal, majority of the respondents have been covered local and national issues during the COVID-19 pandemic. Next. So looking at the platform, majority of work, how they actually publicize the work during the COVID-19 pandemic, we could see that majority of them, 45%, have been publicized their news on the internet, online portal, web portal, blog websites, and also social media. And we could see that less, 25%, have been prioritizing the print media during the pandemic, while TV 25%, others is the 7% like the community radio and also other platforms that been used to reach the people who are staying in the remote area. Next. Okay, if we look at the majority of them are the journalists who covered the reporter. As we circulated the snapshot survey to those who are experienced in a news organization, majority of them were journalists on the ground with 52% and editors 22%. Next. Okay, looking at the how frequent that the stories that they have highlighted related to the COVID-19 issue, we could see that majority of them, 34% out of 9 of 10, have been writing stories about COVID-19 during the pandemic. And I would like to declare here that even though some of the countries in South Asia, for example, like Malaysia and also some other countries were quite busy with the political reporting, political scenario that happened during the pandemic, but still the preference that given by the journalists at the time at these 2 years are more to the COVID stories rather than political stories becoming the secondary stage for them to report. Next. Okay, looking at the challenges, do they really feel challenging during the COVID-19 coverage? Majority of them strongly agree. 37% strongly agree, 42% strongly agree. As we could see that majority of the broadcast journalists, for example, and also mainstream media journalists and also independent portals journalists, they feel that covering the COVID-19 issues quite be challenging. This is due to the frequency of the government announcement from time to time regarding the COVID situation in their country. And also secondly, the climate also played a very important role because the journalists, they have to move from one place to one place. Some journalists, they have to move from one press conference area to other on the ground, looking at how the case has been reported, how the situation in the hospital. So majority of the South Asia respondent here feel that reporting during the COVID-19 is quite challenging. Next. And when we talk about COVID-19 pandemic, and we always spoke about the misinformation, and we talk about the fake news circulation, but very less emphasis has been given to the safety and the challenges confronted by the COVID-19 challenges. And to the journalists responded, which we approached them, majority of them has stated that they feel to exposed to the COVID-19. And I am sharing, even though I am in the lecturing line and my brother is actually one of the mainstream media national reporter in Kuala Lumpur, and he has to go to the cemetery area. He has to go to the places where they do not been guided. Sometimes they always been guided by the hospital, but naturally when it comes to the news presentation and how the lack of the training is happened there. But we could see that in countries like Africa, from one of the region that presented by our team from Africa, it seems that the journalists have been given training in how they have to look after the safety before they are going for any kind of assignment, especially during the COVID-19. And in this case, we could see that majority of them agreed that they feel exposed to the COVID-19 pandemic because prior to that, the vaccination hasn't been popularized at that time. And this putting a situation, a quite a dangerous situation to the journalists. Next. 76% also have mentioned that their colleague have had a COVID issue, and majority of them have admitted that 76% had colleague which had the COVID. Next. So we could see here from the chart that been shared, we could see that only 73% were provided protective gear, and some of the organization, they are giving allowance for journalists to covering their COVID-19 pandemic issues. And some countries, for example, in Malaysia, some allowance been given to the journalists who have been covered COVID-19 issue. For some of them have been given some privileges in terms of taking the vaccine. So we could see that in South Asia, in the countries that we have done the survey, only 33.7% were provided the protective gear towards covering the COVID-19 reporting. Next. Next. 15. Okay, and looking at the context of the disinformation, nearly 9 out of 10 understand what is disinformation is, and I'm pretty much sure that all the countries in South Asia had the issue of encountering the circulation of the misinformation and also disinformation. And for Malaysia, for example, we could see that mainstream media, it was fully utilized to encounter the fake news, and the information has been gathered, information has been presented in a variety of languages so that the information can go down to the people on the ground. They could understand, they could differ which one is the fake news and which one also information. And I'm pretty much sure that it could be happen also in India, how the Indian government actually played role in encountering the circulation of the fake news. Next. And out of 6 out of 10 says their organization has guideline versus with disinformation. So this one we could see that in some countries, 41% and 21% looks like more than 63%. They actually agreed that their news organization had a standard requirement, a standard guideline, how they wanted to curb the spread of the disinformation. And we could see in some countries, we could see that when we are circulating this kind of snapshot survey to the journalists, in some countries, they report carefully, and in case if there is any havoc, is there any issue wrongly been viral, immediately the government are taking the action. Because in some countries we could see news that the tissue has been run out, for example, and the face mask has been run out, and there are also panicking buying due to the viral of information. So majority of the news organization in the countries that we covered, they had the guideline how they wanted to encounter the disinformation. Next. Okay, and looking at the case of the more than half have been received training on handling disinformation. Next. Okay, this is the disinformation that affecting how the fellow journalists and we covered the pandemic. So I think we, Swati, can go straight to the slide number 28. Number 30. 29. Okay, looks like it's almost 30 minutes already. So we could see, I would like to summarize this presentation to all of you. We have emerging themes that arise in South Asia and also Southeast Asia. Number one is the challenging COVID coverage. As I am making summary of whatever that happened, what we try to document the experience, practical experience that faced by the most of the journalists, and they feel that they are exposed to the pandemic and they know that some of their colleagues had been infected. So it could see that more than a third do not have a protective gear. And when we compare our finding with other region, for example, like African region, we could see that they already have a kind of a guideline how they are actually covering the COVID-19 news coverage. And one of the reasons that we could see that it happened because of the health crisis that have been happening in their country. For example, the history of AIDS which emerged previously, and majority of our country in South Asia, we actually are going through gradually the changes and also the what we call the protective that we need to learn from the pandemic COVID-19. And I'm pretty much sure that in upcoming crisis health like this, definitely each government in this South Asia will have precaution in advance in their hand, like how they have been experiencing COVID-19. And also we could see that another emerging themes that arise is the aversion to the disinformation, which I explained earlier to you. And then number three is the government dependent, which means how much the South Asia country have been depending on getting the government documentation, for example, like press release or high trust in health experts and also WHO. And also we could see that majority of the journalists, they try to balance the coverage by interviewing the marginalized voices, which is balanced coverage. And also in some country, there are also evidence of the government pressure in some countries in how they are actually covering, should be covered the COVID-19 issue because they don't want to let the people for confusion, for a panic situation or panicking buying. And also we could see that in this pandemic COVID-19 also there is a financial insecurity because majority of journalists feel their news will be experienced financial difficulty, which led them close their news organization. Next. Swati, do I have time?
Yeah, ma'am, you can, but it would be good if you could wrap it up and
Sure. Okay, the next slide.
Yeah. This one, ma'am, is this the one?
No, next one. Number 30. Yeah. Okay, on the second track, which now we are actually conducting the qualitative interview, in-depth interviews with the country's journalists who report on the COVID-19, and I'm pretty much sure that I could share the second outcome of the finding of qualitative interview in the future. Next. Next. Okay, so basically these are the, you can conclude, Swati, number 33, yeah. So basically, I have shared to all of you on research outcome that we have done at the first stage of a snapshot survey among the South Asia countries, generally, especially with Malaysia, India, Philippines, Nepal, and also Thailand, basically. And briefly, we could see that the emerging important themes from all these countries were, one of the major things that had been highlighted is the exposure of the COVID. To what extent the journalists of our countries been exposed to the COVID-19 reporting during this risk reporting. And secondly, misinformation versus disinformation, and also financial security during the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you have any further question, you maybe could drop the questions later to my email, and I could provide my detail to Swati. And maybe in the future, if GMEC wanted to invite me to share the second outcome of stages of our outcome, I'm happy, glad to share to all of you. Maybe it could take 2 or 3 months time for us to come out in the format of publication. And thank you very much for providing me this opportunity. It's my sincere apology to all of you, because we have to run short this PowerPoint, and we have a lot of emerging themes which we have covered through the snapshot survey which has been conducted through the participated countries.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for these insights. It will be really helpful for everyone. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure listening to you. Thank you. Okay, so I shall now introduce you to Dr. Anurag Batra, our chief guest for the evening. Dr. Anurag Batra is an entrepreneur, media mogul, a staunch journalist. Dr. Batra is the founder, and presently he's the chairman and editor-in-chief of Business World. He's also the founder of exchangeformedia.com. Dr. Batra has expanded Business World into the digital sector and has taken into its fold www.digitalmarket.asia, a leading website on digital marketing. He mentors many budding entrepreneurs and hones their talent, and enjoys the process of learning from these young entrepreneurs as well, as he believes that learning is a lifelong process. We are delighted to have you in our webinar today, Dr. Batra, and I request you to please address the audiences and share your experiences and your perspective with them.
Thank you so much. I was listening to the professor, and fantastic research. We could get a copy, and possibly we could publish it. So it would be relevant for our readers in exchangeformedia.com. And thank you, Professor, for Ms. Sara Chinnaswamy. I got your second name right? Right, Ms.
Yes,
Chinnaswamy?
yes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you are welcome. Yeah.
Okay, so clearly, of course, it may vary from region to region, but broadly, I'm sure what you brought out in your research would be applicable to almost all parts of the world. And of course, like you talked in Africa, they're getting a drill or training on security before they go out to report. Maybe, very region specific, but most of your findings would resonate with a lot of people who run media companies or are part of media companies. And Ms. Agarwal was very, very polite when you said, "Can I go on?" She said, "Yes, you can, but it'd be nice if you can." So I think you must learn. When I grow up, I want to be like Ms. Swati Agarwal. I want to be polite like that. And I just would like to say that, first of all, congratulations to GMEC. I, by the way, did start a media school, and I ran it for 5 years, and my partner died. So Rubika Liaquat, who's in ABP News, is from my media school. And I've not given up the ambition of building India's largest media university. That's an ambition I have, and who knows? We hire from almost all media schools and business schools. So I can say that a body like GMEC is welcome. We also rank all the media schools in Impact. It's called the Impact M Schools ranking. And we also did a Media Educators Award before the COVID. We haven't done it in 2 years. So this is a community which is very, very important for us. That's the point. The media education leaders community and the teachers and the professors and the directors. So clearly it's a very important community, and congratulations to everyone at GMEC for bringing the community together. Now, I said I'd speak to you about what's happening in the media. Where are we headed? So we cannot talk of media in isolation. We have to look at where are we, what is happening in the world, what is happening in our lives, what is happening in the workspaces, and hence what is happening to media, right? And again, some of the things you know very well, I will sum it up to contextualize what I'm going to say about media. And I'll keep to my time, and I'd rather welcome some of the questions from some of you and have a more interactive session. First of all, let me contextualize. I keep saying that we are in a 4C economy. I used to say 3C. One is a collaborative economy. Collaboration has taken on a bigger meaning than ever post-pandemic. Second is a contactless economy. We are in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and we are still together. And it is a legitimate congregation. Earlier, we would not, I want to give you an education example. Long distance education was not considered education. It was a poor cousin of, if I may use the word, mainstream education. But today, edutech, which is long distance in some way, I mean, it is through technology. It is not traditional form education, is far more acceptable than it ever was. So clearly, contactless has changed the way we interact with our colleagues, we interact with our audiences, students interact with their schools and their teachers, how we consume content, and so on and so forth. I don't have to tell you. So first is collaboration, second is contactless, third is compassion. We now live, I think after 2 years of COVID, if you're not more compassionate to ourselves first, if you cannot be compassionate to yourself, you possibly cannot be compassionate to others, right? Sometimes you may do it at your own cost, but you have to have some compassion for yourself, right? And fourth is a constantly changing. I mean, change was there even before COVID. The world changes every 6 months, 12 months, definitely every century, every decade. But I think the changes are happening at a pace that is really rapid. The digital acceleration that is happening, and in the way our lifestyles are changing, in the way our habits are changing, is rapid. So we live in a 4C economy. What have we learned? One, we've learned, never say never. Don't say this is not possible. Everything is possible. We may not have dreamt of it. We may not have visualized it. Second is, why is very important. Why are we doing this? Why is GMEC doing this? Why is everyone, whether it's Mr. Swami Deep Chatterjee, I can see him, or you, Ms. Sara Chinnaswamy, or Dr. Amresh Jha, or Dr. Bala Lakendra from BHU, why have you joined it? Why are you spending your time on this? The why has become very important, right? And third is, we are questioning drivers of our life, our businesses. Why do we do something? So the natural progression is, why are we doing what we are doing in our businesses, in our personal lives, in our professional lives? And last but not the least, our care for environment has gone up, at least in lots of people's minds and in their actions, not just in their minds. We now know what happens in one part of the world really impacts the other. I mean, we knew this before COVID. It's not something that I did a new discovery, but we know. So we have to be more conscious of what is happening in the world in terms of environment and sustainability. The simple task of, at our individual level in our homes, segregating this solid waste from, wet waste, so to say, can make a huge difference in the progressive value chain and in the way waste and recycling happens. Just one small thing, right? And very simple. I'm not going to get into the business of carbon credits and all those. Those are topics by itself. So fact is, the world is a changed place. And again, digital acceleration. I want to give you 2 data points, just 2 data, very simple. If you look at the e-commerce business, e-commerce existed and retailing existed for many, many years. In the US, which is the #1 market for e-commerce, in the 22 years that e-commerce has been around, e-commerce is till COVID, which is 20 years, was almost 16% of the total retailing. In 20 years of retailing and e-commerce, e-commerce was 16% of the total pie. It is nearing almost, depending on which estimate you take, minimum 26% to maximum 30%. So 20%, 16% in 20 years and 10% or 14%, depending on what number you take, in less than 2 years. So look at it, is almost doubled. I mean, it will double very soon, the way it is going. Second, let's take India's stock market. We had 1 crore, players, individual retail investors, as we call, on the Indian stock market. The last 2 years added almost 1.5 crores plus more. Just 2 years. So whatever you had, more than that got added in the last 20 odd months. So these two numbers show you what digital did to many things. I won't get into categories and all, but when I started Exchange for Media 21 plus years back, I did not start Exchange for Media to build a website on marketing, advertising, media. I started so, I wanted to build a B2B e-commerce company, a commerce one or a Reba for the media industry, where buying and selling of advertising, time and space happened. Right? And we were ahead of time 21 years ago. We feel we are in the right space now. We built the #1 marketing, advertising, media, communication website, daily, a weekly, a monthly, a site in Hindi, so on and so forth. But the fact is, we were ahead of time. Today, B2B e-commerce is waiting to happen. In fact, that is the secret sauce that is waiting to happen. And I've been talking of the power of communities. GMEC is a community. So what I want to say is very simple. Content, which is ubiquitous, whether it's user-generated content, whether it's in user-generated short form, long form. So content, community, and commerce, I used to say 20 years back, it's happening in a deep way now. So content is becoming a glue. I know of an FMCG brand, a digital-only FMCG brand, started less than 6 years back, has acquired 4 content platforms, very large, because it wants to win online distribution. So content becomes a glue for commerce. So if you want to ask me if what is the biggest, the lines between, traditionally 20 years back, we would talk of TMT, telecom, media, and technology. Those lines are finally started to blur. They didn't blur for 20 years. They were on the verge of blurring many times, but they didn't blur, So for the first time, Madison Avenue, which is advertising, Hollywood, which is entertainment content, and Fleet Street, and also Silicon Valley, which is money, technology, they're all coming together. It is happening in a real way as we speak. So clearly, media, definition of what is media has gone and sea change in the last 2 years. We knew about social media. Today we talk of metaverse. Nobody knows whether it will work or not work. And Facebook's stock price did come down for various reasons. But metaverse is one of them. Some people believe metaverse won't work. But the fact is, nobody knows what the future is. There is a writer in the UK who in 2004 wrote a book that there will be a virus like COVID and it will take over the world, and no publisher published his book because they thought he was a lunatic and a doomsday philosopher. But the fact is, in 2004, the author was right. He did not have many details. So media and content business have changed forever. And more, every media business is becoming a technology and a content tech business. Anyway, any business, if it's not a technology business anymore, will always be under-leveraged. Okay. Increasingly, every media business is becoming. So what does it mean for different stakeholders? The person you have... It means different things for different stakeholders. Let's take for people who create content. Again, news journalists are very different. News journalists are very different from people who create entertainment content. Okay, but the fact is, today we need to make sure that the content we create is, is very specialized. It is very research. Companies like Amazon, companies like Netflix can actually predict what is the kind of content a filmmaker should be making, because they know with the user base and the use of technology, what is the content that is being consumed by various audiences. So when a filmmaker goes to them with a movie idea, they can actually tell the movie maker, don't make this movie, but make a movie instead of this topic, because this with what is the audiences that you're targeting want to see. So clearly, technology is playing a bigger role. So when it comes to content creators, user-generated content is big. It is becoming bigger. Short-form content. I mean, honestly, none of us took, I can say safely, took TikTok seriously. Well, a lot of people spend a lot of time on TikTok. It's a way for expressing yourself. It is a way of also de-stressing yourself. It's your window away to a world of entertainment. It is also democratizing entertainment. The numbers, I mean, I don't know if you know of a guy called Fazu. Do you know Fazu? How many of you know Fazu?
Mr. Fazu, right? The TikToker.
Yes. I mean, he is thriving on, he's selling now perfumes, which are priced at $190, which is like a mass market. But so clearly, I mean, he would be nobody would have imagined when he started and became popular. And I want to tell you a small story. 4 years back, we did the Content Marketing Summit, and I have a website on the business of music. We did a music conference, and we had the regular big music guys. We had Bhushan Kumar, and we had Badshah, and we had the guys from the business side. We had the CEO of Spotify. And I told my conference producers, who's this Prajakta Kohli? Who are Bhuvan Bam and Prajakta Kohli? Who have you invited? Who are these people? And why have we invited them? Clearly, I was very less informed. And when I told my daughter that was a big fan of Prajakta Kohli, that Prajakta Kohli was there, I realized how big Prajakta and Bhuvan Bam were. They're very different from each other, the content. But the point is, they represent this new generation of content creators. I'm giving you very specific examples. So clearly, the lines between what is community, what is content, and what is commerce are blurring. I think that's the biggest change post-pandemic. It started happening 5-7 years back, but in the last 22 months, it has accelerated to a point where, at least for the foreseeable future, it will only grow. And the beauty about technology and internet is such that in the next 3 months, what happens, I'm not sure even astrologers can predict, right? I'm clearly neither a futurist nor an astrologer. But the fact is, we talk of social commerce, we talk of video commerce, we talk of live commerce. Now live commerce did exist in some way. Teleshopping was live commerce, right? It was live commerce. I mean, whether you want to call it live commerce. So what I want to say is, for every stakeholder, of course, the news business is a little different, but again, news is getting more and more polarized. I don't have to tell you that there are channels that stand for a certain point of view. There's channels that stand for a certain point of view, right? Even in the digital domain, where, I mean, if you look at the current elections in UP, they're not being won on a narrative which is set by news channels. It is being set up by digital YouTube channels that came up in the last 2-3 years, right? Because they have no advertising, they have no reputations to save. So they are more independent. Right or wrong, time will tell. Okay, I'm not going to make that. But there's some of them are more authentic. Let's be fearless, which is what news should be, right? So clearly, the digital. But I want to say 2 things, and I keep saying, the more the digital grows, the value of physical will grow. While I'm loving interacting with you, but I would love to meet all of you, shake hands, have a cup of tea, soup with you, whatever, sit down, have a conversation. So like the value of digital is growing, the volume is growing, but the value of physical touch will grow. What are its implications? So newspapers are not going anywhere. For the last 20 years, we've been listening, newspapers will die. Radio came, then we said, oh, we have a local medium, now newspapers will die. When television came, we said, oh, TV will die, or radio will die. Now people are saying, oh, OTT has come, linear TV will die. Linear TV will adapt. Newspapers will become, they're in the business of news content. They've already started to stream stuff. So are they streaming sites or the newspapers? So most media businesses have realized they're in the business of content and brand. The form doesn't matter. They've become media neutral, 360, whatever you want to say, media agnostic. And second is the word we are using, hybrid, phygital, So in everything we do, it will be hybrid, it will be phygital. But the value of physical contact, I mean, if you look at reports, the travel industry is looking to bounce back in a way that nobody imagined. I mean, it's still not bounced back. It will take 6 months. But the fact is, if you try and book a table at a restaurant today, it is full. I can tell you about Delhi. Because people are, at the end of the day, we are social beings. We are not just people who want to exist. So point I'm trying to make is, while the new media grows, and it grows like a rapid fire, like a wildfire in some cases, I'm using the word with lots of responsibility. There is fake news, there is content that is violent, and social media platforms have played a role in amplifying that unknowingly, though. While they have tried to monitor it, they have tried to police it, they've tried to make sure that they filter offensive content. The media world is growing like never before. The media industry will grow. And the beauty is not only the advertising pie growing, the subscription pie. Today, lots of news wires or business content, they will start charging. My predictions are 3. Over the next 12 to 18 months, whether it's B2C news, whether it's B2B news, whether it's business news, they will start charging money on the web. They may have a pure play freemium site, free site, and they may have a freemium site, and they may have a fully premium site. So, content finally will be paid by consumers. So they can choose. And second, digital is growing. We just yesterday brought out the Pitch Madison advertising outlook. The advertising pie is growing in more than 30%. And the fact is, today, digital has become 30%. It is likely to be 50% in the next 2 years. And out of this, whatever digital exists, 70% is programmatic. 70%. So programmatic advertising growing. And third is the lines between what is advertising, what is commerce will blur. Everything is geared towards commerce. Oh, you're watching a Fazu video, you buy his perfume. So clearly, for us media professionals, while some of us will have traditional jobs, we will have to understand where audiences are spending their time, why they're spending. And every 6 months, there will be a new medium, there will be a new way of expression that will come and take over. For example, short form video for the last 2 years is the flavor of the season. What knows what will happen in metaverse? Gaming is becoming mainstream. Gaming is part of media and entertainment. More and more professionals will be required in gaming. So clearly, the number of people required in the media, entertainment, communication, content ecosystem, in my view, will quadruple, if not become 10 times in the next 12 months at all levels. So media, from a media educator standpoint, from a recruiter standpoint, is a very interesting space. It is seeing changes which retain some part of the old, but there is a lot of new. I look forward to the next few months as being exciting and challenging and full of opportunities. But if all of us had to thrive in the future, we will have to take on the role of being reverse mentored by young people who are really creating business models that we never thought could exist. So this is what I'd like to say. Stick to my time. I'd love to have some questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir, as of now, we don't have any questions. Also, the speakers are not allowed to mute, the participants are not allowed to mute. So they will, later on, if they have any questions, I'll send it to you. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much. And God bless you. I'm on anurag.batra@businessworld.in and
sure.
Happy to engage. We built 27 communities. And, I've been in media 22, and I've been working, this is my 27th year of working. I can say that I feel that I need to reinvent myself and learn something new. And my way of doing is to I'm investing in consumer tech and media startups to learn. That's one way of becoming angel investors and having a seat at where you can see what new is happening. Because nothing works like being with the people who are building in some way futuristic media plays and learning from them. So that's what I am doing.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure listening to you, and you brought in the industry viewpoint and enhanced our knowledge. Thank you so much. So I shall now introduce you to Dr. Amresh Shah, a session chair for the evening. Dr. Amresh Shah is an expert researcher in the domain of broadcast journalism and data sciences. During his 15-year tenure as a television journalist, he has worked with the national public broadcaster, Doordarshan News, and private channels like India TV, Z News, India News, and TV9. He has been a member of fact-checking teams of several channels. Dr. Jha is well known for his pioneering contribution to the field of rural journalism. He is a fellow of the Royal Asiatic Society of Great Britain and Ireland. He has been the project director for IMPRESS project of ICSSR under the Ministry of Education, Government of India. Currently, he is a professor and head of the School of Digital Media, Journalism and Mass Communication at GD Goenka University. So we are enthusiastic to listen to you, and I request you to please address the audience.
Thank you very much, Swati. First, I would like to thank Professor Ujjwal Chaudhary, Professor KG Suresh, Professor Amrish Saxena, and the team who is organizing this GMEC series of webinars. It's really wonderful listening to Dr. Sara and Dr. Batra. They all are very good speakers. Most of the things have been told, but I would focus, my lecture on why teaching journalism is not easy today, and that too in the backdrop of rapidly expanding digital world. So most of the J schools across the globe think that the curriculums need to be constantly updated since the digital media technology is transforming very fast. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of it, and how it can be done, how it can be achieved? That would be the focus of my lecture today. So I think that most of the J schools are devoting an increasing portion of their curricula to developing, digital versatility, or at least familiarity. And some of these class offerings are still in a beta stage, you can say, but they are certainly a popular selling point. So most of the media schools are offering these days short-term courses like digital media marketing or web series production or OTT. So it has become a new fashion. It's need also. But what is happening is that we are sinking our pedagogy into some, you can say that modernized instructions, and there seems to be an urgency to convert a pre-professional degree into a paycheck, and that should not happen. So even if we are bringing in digital media curricula, we should be very much, as a journalism school, curious about what's the learning. Actually, as Dr. Batra said, actually the content will matter. So unless our students are trained in creating, very diversified, very well-researched content, no one is going to listen to them. So market would end up for the professional media persons, because everyone is a consumer, everyone is a creator, everyone is a curator, everyone is a collaborator in this digital age. So anyone can generate content. And that's why we say that whatsoever content is generated using digital media platforms is user-generated content. So what will be the role of professional journalists? And that is why whenever we are changing our curriculum to digital media, we should not convert it into a pre-professional degree and like a paycheck that you have earned this skill and now you can earn in the market. So it's not going to produce a good quality of journalists, and that is why it should be a mix of what we used to teach the students, that what journalism is, what kind of learning they should have, and also what are the new media technologies where they can use their skills of being a journalist. So these days, and this is why I have seen a phenomena where everyone has become a journalist. Everyone is reporting whatsoever is happening around. And therefore, there is lack of fact, lack of depth, and the kind of content is being shared on YouTube, or you can say, as Dr. Bhatta said, TikTok. So maybe it's a very good medium of expressing yourself, but a lot of content, I think, which kids are consuming at home is very poor and misleading also. So we will have to see that how the digital media is being used, who is creating, who is consuming. If everyone has become a creator of the content, then you can think of what kind of quality it will deliver. Okay, so a professionally trained journalist, when he writes or creates a content, is different. Okay, and that is why when we were developing our digital media curriculum, so we said that it's not going to be only digital media, it's going to be digital and mass media. So what happened, actually, that with the invent of digital media technologies, everyone got a chance. Earlier, the audience was anonymous, and today the audience has become the consumer, the curator, the creator, the collaborator, everything. So they have got an opportunity to express themselves. It's all right. But then where is the place for journalists, professionally trained journalists? So who is going to listen to them if all kind of nonsense, content is being spread to different social media platforms, etc., etc. So then comes the, challenge of verification of the content. So some people say that it's fake news. A news can never be fake. It may be a fake content. So it may be misinformation, but if we name it as news, news is always fact-checked. So I have objection with the term fake news. So because news is created by journalists, and journalists always fact-check the content, and that's why it cannot be a fake news. So there may be a fake content, maybe misinformation being spread, but if a professional journalist is writing, as we were trained when we are in media, there is less, scope for creating a fake news. Okay, so news can never be fake. If it is a news, it's true. So when it comes to keeping up with the latest, verification techniques, the changing popularity and functionality of social media platforms makes this all the more difficult, because people are resorting to social media. No one has time to fact check, and if you raise the question that this video is viral but it's not true, no one is taking it seriously. So though we used to teach media laws and ethics to students, but now that curricula also needs to be redefined. Okay, so Swati, can you share the slides now?
Yeah, sure, sir, sure.
So now I will briefly let you know that what is students need to get trained in. So students of today need to get trained in engaging audience in story conception via social networking sites, blogs, and virtual social groups. So when the students of journalism will take this role and they will dominate the social media space, what will happen that they will share relevant news and updates. They will share relevant questions for the target audience. They will incorporate some humor also. And then the curated content they can also review. They can check the cross-post postings also. Next slide, please. So then the students also need to, get trained in network journalism and crowdsourcing techniques, because these days it has become very important for the journalist to understand what is trending. So to understand what is trending, we have to engage community members with the content. So if your content is optimized enough and powerful enough, it reaches out to masses, then there are chances that the level of engagement you get for your content, well-drafted content, is very high. And this way, the journalist will get trained in writing for the target audience. Next slide. Okay. So the other, skills which are required by students of today is doing some audience research through data mining. So a lot of big data is being created these days on social media platforms. And I've seen many research papers written in the last few years, which analyze the sentiments of the social media users. So this has become possible through some data mining and digging deeper into what people say about what. So another way of, having a good discussion on some topics or agenda can be creating a digital focus group. So earlier, during our research, we used to have a method called focus group discussion, FGD. So that FGD was for physical environment, and for this digital ecosystem, I think this digital focus group can work better. And you understand better that this GMEC is also a kind of digital focus group, because we have created a group which has brought, eminent media persons. And through the discussions, we'll be able to dig deeper into what are the challenges of the media industry, what kind of, paradigm shift is taking place in the field of media. Another way of training students is that we can train them in creating avenues for research on specific topics and subtopics. So crowdsourcing is very good, you can say, opportunity for the students, where they can put a question on Twitter and they can have answers. So that is also a kind of crowdsourcing of information. So you can get viewpoint or opinion of millions of people using social media. And that way, we can rethink the obvious. So it's a kind of general, assumption in India that people say that I think that this is going to happen. But we have to rethink the obvious basis what the masses think. And for that, creating avenues for crowdsourcing of information is also very important. Then the journalists who are trained in digital media can spark conversations in virtual space. And that is going to be really new learning for the students if they can create something. Like one of my students created a post, and he said that why we say that hijab is wrong and ghungat is not. Why so no one is talking about ghungat? So ghungat is also a kind of hijab. But when it comes to educational institutions, we need to rethink it. And that is why my opinion or my students' opinion is not the last opinion. So we need to have the opinion of the masses on this issue. And definitely we can spark conversations in virtual space by raising some questions. Okay. And it can lead to, a kind of diverse viewpoints on topics. And this can also help, such conversations can also help the decision makers, particularly the government, for rethinking politically that whatsoever is being done is right or wrong. So if we can train our students in developing GPS-based localized contents, they'll be able to, reach out to the target audience in due time, and that can bring business for their ventures also. Next slide, Swati. So the other important aspect which comes under, the new pedagogy for J schools all across the globe is training the students in alternative storytelling. So how they can aggregate virtual spaces, multiple media and multiple viewpoints, how they can do transmedia storytelling, and how they can use a single piece of, information in repurposing it. So that is going to be another challenge for the journalists of the future, because we have seen that most of the media houses have the television, the radio, their online platforms. So a single content gets repackaged as different stories. So transmedia story telling is another thing which they need to learn. Then creative headline writing and search terms. I've gone through many research papers which tell that if your headline is a combination of number and words, it is more effective. So our students must get trained in writing creative headlines if they are writing for digital media. Like I have seen many headlines like 7 ways of reducing your belly fat. And it's trending like anything. So then the stories will have to follow the paths stories take. Okay. Then learning the tools and techniques of optimizing the content. So how they can use the backlinks or the hashtags so that the content is optimized and reaches out to maximum number of audience. Then they should be trained in analyzing the content also and setting up RSS feed, etc., etc. So next slide, Swati. Thank you. Though it's a more technical thing, and we at J schools require faculty members who are trained in artificial intelligence and mixed realities, etc. But it's the need of the hour that our students need to get trained in applications of AI in targeted communication. So if they are not, in the architecture kind of a thing, AI architecture, but this course must be introduced in the curricula of media students, that what are the potential applications of AI in communication. That is going to help them a lot. Then digital advertising is again a new arena, which has overpowered, you can say, that traditional advertising. Then social customer relationship management is another domain where our students can specialize. They can specialize in web streaming, data analytics, and predictive techniques. So news definitely cannot be predicted, but market predictions can be made based on some data. So for business journalists particularly, predictive techniques are very helpful. Next slide.
So
this is
that's
last.
the end of the, yeah, this is the last slide, sir.
Yep. So
the
this is
next-
all from, and I again thank Swati and the team for giving me an opportunity to speak at GMEC. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was great listening to you, and your thoughts will, the thoughts which you shared will certainly add to our knowledge. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll stop sharing this, just a moment. Okay, so let me now introduce you to Dr. D. Nivedita, who is an associate professor in the Department of Electronic Media and Communication, Pondicherry Central University. Ma'am has been teaching postgraduate electronic media for more than 2 decades. She has also studied in FTII Pune, and she has worked as an assistant director with leading filmmakers in South India. She has authored many books and journals of both national and international repute. She has chaired many seminars, workshops, and FTPs. Her area of specialization is film studies, script writing, film semiotics, etc. So, ma'am, can we now have you on screen? Ma'am, please unmute yourself and open your camera. Can I please invite you to address the session, ma'am? Hello.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think, Swati,
Yeah.
firstly,
So may I now?
Yeah.
conferment of the award should be, and then she.
Sure. So may I now request Dr. Amrish Saxena, sir, to please felicitate Dr. D. Nivedita for her outstanding contribution to the world of media education. Congratulations, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Swati. So as Vice President of GMAC, I announced the conferment of Eminent Media Education Award to Dr. D. Nivedita.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations, ma'am. So I request
Yes.
you to please address the audience.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good day to one and all. I would like to thank the institution for inviting me to share my experiences with you. Today, I'm going to talk about the cinematography and the continuities, which are the most important factor for the filmmaking process.
May I request Dr. Nivedita to please switch on your camera?
Switch on my camera.
Yeah.
One. Yes.
Yeah, ma'am, we can
Good
see
day.
you.
Yeah. Good day. Good day to you.
If you can, work a little bit your frame.
This is
Yeah, it's fine.
but yeah. Yes. Today I'm going to talk about cinematography and continuities, which are the most important factor for the filmmaking process. The first point, what I'd like to discuss is personal cinematic style. Every filmmaker has their own style of filmmaking. There is no limit for creativity, but the creativity should be apt and logic. And the next important thing is women are framed. Women are framed by showing them in a sexy manner or vulgar manner. The top angle shot of the woman's breast, low angle shot of thighs, profile shot of woman's breast, and showing the cleavage in a vulgar manner, etc. Director's suggestion. The director or the filmmaker should suggest the required shots, which are apt and logic for the story. The director is the one who knows the full script very thoroughly. Next important to that is shot composition. Tight close-up, only the eyes, only nose, only lips, etc. will be shown. Very close shot, shoulder and above the shot, medium shot, which is above the hip, mid shot below the knee, long shot or full shot of the man or woman, very long shot that exposes the exterior. The exterior will be more. An extreme long shot, it figures look like ants. Extreme long shot, the figures will look like ants. Very, very extreme long shot in which the camera can be from moon, where the earth will look like dot. And next is frame entry. Character entering the frame left of the camera, right of the camera, center to the camera, from the top or from the bottom. And next important movement is camera movement, where horizontal movement, vertical movement, side movement, left to right, right to left, diagonal movement, or any kind of creative movement, like a snake movement, or from monkey point of view, movement from elephant viewpoint, waterfalls viewpoint, sea waves viewpoint, jumping from the mountain, dive from sky, etc., can also create new movements according to the need of the story. For example, ghost viewpoint. We have not seen the ghost, but if at all the ghost is there, from the ghost point of view, subjectively, any kind of movement thrilling movement can be created. Next important point is the depth of field. The foreground, the middle ground, and the background. Where to place the objects? The object should be placed in the foreground, middle ground, or in the background. It all depends upon the concept from the film, what kind of concept you're going to say. Based on the importance of the image, the ground will be fixed. Next is light variations. Background light, foreground light, side lights, low angle lights, high angle light position. These are the variations in light angle. And again, in each and every film, based on the story, it can be created. Artist position. How are we going to position the artist? In the foreground, middle ground, and background. Next is field clearance. Field should be noted. Check the background and the foreground. And light position, whether the light is placed on the top or bottom or side or in the middle. Meter reading. Light meter reading help in measuring the required light for the picturization. The light can be a tungsten light or it can be a white light, anything. No, you have to measure the light depending upon the story and shot. Tilt movement. Tilt up and tilt down. When you tilt up, the sky will be seen. Tilt down, the whole earth will be seen. Tilt up and down. And how are you going to use? It's a very creative thing depending upon the story, context, sequence, emotion, the shot and movement will be decided. Light filters. We have red light filters, green filter, blue our primary color filter, cyan, yellow, magenta secondary color filters are available to change the atmosphere and color according to the situation, according to the story. Color temperature. Measuring the brightness of light is very important. And maintaining the color temperature from one shot to another shot is very important. Otherwise, there will not be continuity.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry to interrupt. Ma'am,
Yes.
we are running short of time. Could you please wrap it up? Like, could you please summarize it?
Okay, fine.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll finish it off within 5 minutes, okay. I think so.
Sure.
Bright areas, yeah. Storyboard. Pictorial representation of the story is called storyboard. And in composition, close-up is bow the neck, tight shot, tight close-up of the eyes, ears, fingers, extreme close-up, medium shot, mid-long shot, below the knee, long shot, very long shot, can be from the moon also. Then the lens range, normal lens, 35 mm wide angle lens, telephoto lens, shutter speed, lens opening and closing, lighting, natural light and artificial light, and combination of artificial and natural light. Artist marking the place for the artist to be in the focusing point. An aesthetic sense, creative inputs, unique story, unique camera work, unique editing, screenplay writing, direction, creative costumes, creative art direction, creative music, dance, makeup, set properties, hairstyles are based on the logic of the story. Visual sense, camera angle, straight angle, profile, low angle, high angle, camera movement, horizontal, vertical. Speed of the panning and tilting. mode of the scene, all types of 9 expressions and the permutation and combination of all expressions will be used. Artist movement, walking towards the camera, going away from the camera, moving left to right and right to left, Steadicam shot, and permutation and combination of all types of shots. Light off center, lens glare should be avoided, light leak should be avoided, aperture opening to be checked, unnecessary shadows should be avoided, which is not relevant to the subject. And light is very important factor for recording the image. Photography is painting with light, so light is very important. Focus, image should be properly focused, sharp focus or shallow focus. And different types of filters can be used.
Nivedita ma'am, sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Ma'am, kindly wrap it up like another speaker is waiting. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And congratulations, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Time is up, I think so.
Yeah, ma'am, please mute yourself. Thank you. Okay, so I would now introduce you to Mr. Shomadeep Chatterjee, who is the brand head of Snapdeal. He has helped establish brands by building the digital brand strategy. He's adept at creating social media campaigns, devising multi-platform content, and building cross-functional agency teams for brands across different sectors. He's well known in the industry for his proficient work for a decade. So without any further delay, I would request Mr. Chatterjee to grace the occasion. We are delighted to have you with us today. Now the platform is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Swati. Hi. It'll be actually great if the other panelists can also switch on their video. Otherwise, it looks like I'm talking while I'm looking at myself. It's very weird. Anyway, it's a very small group. So I think it's already late. It's 9 p.m. So I won't bore people with a lot of knowledge, which I don't anyway have, because I think I'm one of the youngest here and with the least experience. But good to see Dr. Bala, who is also from my alma mater, BHU. I was a student of BHU some 10, 12 years ago. And I think, so I don't have a presentation or anything to share. I think I was invited to kind of give a corporate viewpoint while all the educators are here. And not long ago, like I said, that I was also in college and I did study in BHU, then I studied media, then I got into marketing. So I think one of the few things that I often see people, because media is a place where there's a lot of ageism today. Most of the people that you see who come online, who are talking, whether it's entrepreneurs, media guys, and everybody is young, right? There is nobody old in it. It's like you have to rarely find somebody who is actually old. So there's a rampant ageism, and the thing is that once you are over 45, for anybody, employment opportunities are reducing, and there's a lot of conversation, not just in India, it's all over the world. A lot of conversation about ageism being there, and a lot of people complain also, saying that okay, what we knew earlier, is now redundant. Some people say it out, some people don't say it, so hence they get hurt, because they try to push to their agenda of what they knew earlier, and eventually it results in heartbreak, and they become bitter. They become bitter about the new generation. They become bitter about whatever is happening around them, and then they start complaining, there is nothing, like quality today. Everything is fake. Everything is for sales. But so I would like to start by saying that it is nothing to get overwhelmed, and I'm sticking to the theme that Swati had said, that it's about paradigm shift in digital media. I fundamentally believe there is no paradigm shift. Nothing has changed. People are still the same. We were ruled by shitty autocrats 100 years ago. We're still ruled by shitty autocrats. We were always ruled by people who were peddling propaganda back in 1930s or back in 1920s. 100 years later, where people are still propagating, propaganda, which is further dividing us. Nothing has changed. Now, if you look at it, obviously the world has changed. It looks like the facade of the world has changed, but the internal dynamics, the engine hasn't changed. That's simply because, with time, like for example, I'll give an example. Earlier, when India was not a, developed country yet, anybody who owned a car knew how to repair a car, right? That was a requirement. So if a car owner or a bike owner was there, early days, a Rajdoot or a Enfield owner, you will see that guy is always rubbing the bike. He's always, screwing something. He's polishing something. That's because it's a code platform. So today we say that there are engineers who are coders, and then there are entrepreneurs who are non-coders. So what happens in any technology when it comes in, only the early people, the engineers get into it. So when you're using, there is a lot of knowledge that is required to operate that function. And that's where a deeper knowledge of the platform. So whether it's a YouTuber also, an early YouTuber had to figure out a lot of algorithm, a lot of ways to grow their, content and their community and all that. Today, what has happened? Today, when you ride a car, 99% of Indian, car drivers or bike drivers have no idea about how the machine is working. They just wake up in the morning, wear their helmet, start their car and they go, or they start their bike and they go. Now that is what I call the no-code platform, and no-code platform today is a rage. So today, when you want to build a community, earlier you had to build the website and then build a community, which is where I think Dr. Batra, who dropped out, but Dr. Batra started from there, right? He built a website first, then he built a team, and then he grew the community. Today, you don't need to do that. Today, you can just go, Medium is there, or, Medium being the world's most popular blogging platform. You can just open your blog. There are already like millions of readers out there. You just see what is working out and you just start writing. So what is happening? The technical aspect is completely getting equalized. So you don't need to be a coder anymore in order to be a blogger, which was a requirement 20 years ago. Just how you don't need to be a technical person to ride a bike today as you were required 50 years earlier. So nothing has changed. Eventually, it's a cycle of life. New technology will come. First, it will be used by the engineers. Then normal people like you and me, consumers, will come in. And by that time, there will be 100% democratization of the, that platform. Comes to internet, post 2016, when 4G had come, this is exactly what happened with tier 2 and tier 3. Earlier, when I was growing up, going to internet was a 10 minutes process, because you need to make sure nobody is picking up the phone, right? Then you set up then you connect your modem, and then you do peepa, the modem will make all that sound. And then finally you go on internet, then you wait for 5 minutes for that website to load. Then you will go log into your email and then you do it. Today, it takes 1 second, that 15 minutes, right? So that is the only difference, that the democratization, today a person does not need to do those 15 steps. So it is already happening around us. What we spoke about car maintenance, what we spoke about community building, it is already happening with us. Earlier, internet was taking 15 minutes just to access. Today, it takes a second. So we are already at a no-code platform. You, I, all of us are extremely proficient online. We are, talking today without even knowing how the underlying technology works. The second part about the paradigmic shift is that earlier the understanding was always in silos, that okay, digital media was always at war with traditional media, irrespective. Like there were people earlier who were running the traditional legacy businesses, retailers, who were against digital. Warren Buffett, like the world's, one of the richest and the most obviously biggest investors, for years said that internet is a fad. For years, he said, this is all bullshit. Internet is never going to work. All these phones and all that never going to work. 10 years ago, approximately 10 years ago, he invested $1 billion in Apple. Finally, after 40 years of investing, he invested in tech. Now imagine if you would have invested in 1977 when Apple was formed, today, he would have been richer than all of US combined. But finally, he relented 10 years ago, invested in Apple. And that Apple purchase constitutes more than 45% of his entire net worth, right? So non-believers turning into believers. And this has also happened. 10 years ago, think about all the statements that were just open any newspaper. 10 years ago, you can go to a library or there are e-versions. 10 years ago, you see headlines like internet is fad. The Tatas saying that no, people will always come to brick and mortar store and buy. And today, the same Tatas are investing, in internet ventures. Future Group, which kept on saying that e-commerce is a fad, today got sold out to an e-commerce company. So so it is not a fight anymore. Anybody who thinks that it is a fight between old versus new, internet versus retail, is eventually going to be a loser, because there will be convergence and it's all about omni-channel. And that is the reason you see Amazon investing in so much of retail. Next is about content and editorial. I think Dr. Amresh also spoke about content. And also there is an ongoing debate about quality. And I completely agree with what he said, that about that if it is, first we have to define what news is. That if we call it news, it is fact-checked. Otherwise, we don't call it news only. But now to come to content, obviously a lot of students today are studying journalism, studying marketing, studying content publishing. We have to understand what is quality content. Because of the democratization of internet, quality is not what 10 people sitting in South Bombay say, oh, I like to read this and this is content. That's not content. That used to be content for the longest part in the world's history, where only erudite and educated people dictated what is content and what is not. We have had cases like, Sadat Hasan Manto was dragged to court because the contemporary intellectuals felt that he's vulgar. Not anymore. Unfortunately, good content is whatever attracts an action from the reader or the one that is consuming it. It might be a video content. Now, what that action is, that action could be at a negative extreme. That action could be somebody going and causing a riot. That action at a positive side could be somebody going and helping somebody, helping somebody in need. Those are the two extremes. But like we say, content in itself is agnostic. You can use it for bad, you can use it for good. But how do we know, irrespective of the objective of the content, how do we know that the content is good if it is forcing somebody to take action? That's it. The rest is up to the content creator to decide that whether I will use it for negative or not. The closest analogy is a sword. You can use a sword to defend your family, or you can use a sword to kill your neighbor. But how do we define whether the sword is of quality or not? Simple, if the blade is sharp, if we can cut through. Now, whether you use it to cut through to defend yourself or attack somebody is completely up to the user. So quality is whatever forces you to take an action, whatever encourages you to take an action. Bad or good is up to the user. Next is that trust is the currency. So no matter what you do, no matter how good the content is, no matter how good media is, how much ever money you spend, the currency is trust. The currency is not celebrities anymore, which used to be for the longest period of time. Okay, we had these celebrities in every sphere. Like we're a celebrity-driven, country where you had even in journalism there were celebrities. Like Shekhar Gupta is there, Pranay Roy is there. Not anymore, because you don't trust those celebrities anymore. You don't trust what Arnab Goswami is saying. You know that probably this is paid by some corporate. So trust is the currency, and whoever can get trust today is going to be the winner in the next 10 years. Because like I said, that nothing has changed. Gossip was always cheap and free. There was this, the village, there used to be those drums that are being beaten even in medieval times. Somebody used to come and beat, the drums and say some gossip or do some dance or whatever. So gossip is always cheap. And that is 99% of internet. Somebody said this, somebody said that, all sorts of fake information. But trust is the currency. Quality is not the currency anymore. People after a point don't care if it is written in wrong English or bad English, as long as they can trust that this news is correct, that I am not being peddled some fake propaganda by somebody. So trust is the currency. And I think whoever owns this will own the next media revolution. It could be even and that's the reason why Twitter is so popular, because Twitter is only 280 characters. You can't write a properly written article, but that's why journalists, are all on Twitter, and they believe on Twitter because they believe that they can report from the spot and truth can be said. Obviously, people are misusing it. But the reason why Twitter is popular, because it's not traditionally well-written content. But if you trust a journalist, say, for example, if Barkha has your trust, then you will believe it because it's coming from the horse's mouth at that point of action. And the last part is that paradigm shift happens every day and happens never. It's like a cycle. So if you go here, it is happening every day. If you go at a very macro level, nothing has changed. So anybody who is ready to learn fast, ready to unlearn it with the changing times and relearn, will go and win. That's all, actually. That's all I have to share. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Chatterjee. So we don't have enough time left. So I quickly I want to invite Dr. Bala Lakhendra, who is an assistant professor in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication. Sir, kindly please unmute yourself and address the audience.
Thank you so much, Swati and Honorable Professor Ambrish sir, other panelists, Dr. Ambrish Jhaji, and one of our colleague, Soumyadeep Chatterjee. Yes, whatever you said, I do agree that paradigm shift. If you believe, yes. If you say no, even then yes. But it is, particularly in media, we all know I'm not going to talk so many things because time is very less. Although I was not aware about the way Swati is going to conduct the session, and I prepared a lot. I prepared so many things, so many notes, 10 pages of kind of this, because time was given 15 minutes. Even then, I'm going to very, very crisp and brief. Whatever Ambrish Jha sir was saying, that news cannot be wrong, news cannot be right. I'm not going to do whatever I prepared, just whatever I have collected from you people. I am just quoting, and I will be doing it within 2-3 minutes, not more than that. But I do agree there is a paradigm shift, because when you see our traditional media, things were different. Radio, even with the changing of time, printing press came, then wire communication came, wireless communication came, then today we are in the age of internet. I was going through the data, and in 2007, there were 29 million active users of internet. But today, there are 169 million users. And out of this 169 million, 130 million users are using their internet through mobile. And what they watch, what they do, you all know, they are YouTubers, and they are creating, Batra was talking about TikTok, 60 seconds. Now, if you open your Facebook, you will get a real kind of thing. It is 30 seconds. So starting with a story, 3 minutes story, 4 minutes story by a reader jockey, we came to 60-second TikTok, which is banned now, and 30-second reels. But even then, within 30 seconds, they are telling something. And many of time, they give so many messages, wrong or right, whatever it may be. And today, a data says that more than 40 million users of internet, particularly for our colleagues, it is from the rural India. People are saying that, yes, even today we are having two India, urban India, rural India, but 49 million, as per the data says, that 49 millions of our audience, they are from rural India, and they are accessing internet. Paradigm shift, whatever sir was telling, and whatever Dr. Ambrish was telling, and he was talking about the education change, need of changes in education system. There are so many things to discuss. What paradigm shift? Although Soumya said that there is no paradigm shift, but the thing is that with the need of time, we do some changes. Radio started with the big box, some kind of singing cartoon, and then today we are having a very, very, very strict kind of thing, and then we have a limited audience, limited time, and within that stipulated time, you have to finish your thing. We started 15 minutes to radio talk. Now Government of India is saying that you finish it in 3 minutes, because our audience, they don't have that much time. And within 3 minutes, you have to complete. Your package should be complete, so that whatever you want, you give it at once. So yes, with the time, things are changing. And if you say paradigm shift, particularly in digital media, we shifted from audience to users. Even every users are audience now, and an audience are users. Particularly when you talk about YouTubes, and from medium to content, you know that how Ambrish Jha was talking about news content and fact check. But the thing is that and you said that Twitter, yes, if you have a faith, earlier we were saying that if this news is broadcast from BBC, it may be true. But now, you know, Twitter, even 40 words, you can write 40 words, not more than that. So with these 40 words, you can create a great impact on your listener. And Dr. Batra was talking about UP, and everybody has become the reporter, carrying a mobile, carrying a microphone, and then talking to each and everyone. And nowadays, you must be knowing a folk singer. She sang something, UP mein kawa, and then everybody is replying her, UP mein iba, UP mein iba, UP mein iba. So yes, of course, the internet has reached to the mass, and mass, they are also shifting their problems. They are also looking after the world differently. So with this, I think I should stop here. But someday we will interact, and we will have a proper discussion where we can really talk about the pragmatic, whatever shifting is there, whatever changes are being taking place, either in radio or television or internet world has created a new world. We can say that a new world. And you all are the user of Facebook, you all are the user of Twitter, and so many things are being changed, and it is impacting the society. Even during this COVID period, the first talker, she talked about the COVID and how reporters, how the media people were reporting the thing. And yes, with this change, with the Sir, Professor Amrish sir is here. Perhaps he must be remembering when he published a book and organized a seminar. We also presented a paper where I wrote about community radio. So starting with 1923, 1995, when we said that airwaves are not public, this government monopoly, it is public property. And now we are saying that everything is with the public. Whatever they want, they can, but they should use this internet, they should use this facility for the betterment of the society. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Amrish sir, and thank you, my colleagues, those who are with me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. So I would now like to, I would take the opportunity to thank all the guests who were a part of the webinar today and who took some time out from the hectic schedule and made the program a great success. Thank you, Amrish sir, for your presence, and Ujjwal Chaudhary sir for your presence. And I would like to thank the Global Media Education Council, the members of the Secretariat, all the working committee members, the host, the digital team, and all of them who have contributed relentlessly to this event. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you, Swati. Thank you, everybody.